A university scavenger hunt goes awry when two students mess with a demonic piñata, unleashing evil forces on a group of fraternity and sorority leaders. Many years ago, in the Central American village of Manganio, a tribe once lived in abundance. When the community starved, the village piñata maker, Hanama, molded the essential weapon to combat the drought and famine. Once a deadly disease spread, the village shaman, Antup, begged the angry spirits to leave. As Hanama continued making the animal-like piñata, the village suffered. Finally, Antup sacrificed a pig, and its heart became the central force of the piñata that could draw evil energy to the clay. Next, Hanama used one of the tribe's sacred stones, harnessing its spiritual energy to lock up the wickedness inside the piñata. With the piñata almost perfected, Antup and the tribe made a long journey to the sacred ritual site while Hanama painted the finishing touches on his creation. At the tribe's sacred river, Antup performed the spiritual ritual, shouting to the heavens. He believed their adversity was brought about by their sins and had each villager stand before the completed demonic piñata, so it could be the receptacle of the evil inside them. Then, the villagers touched a good fortune piñata to complete the cycle. Heading to the edge of the river, the shaman slowly pushed the corrupted piñata down the river and away from the tribe. Shortly after, the tribe rejoiced as they cracked open the good fortune piñata. Meanwhile, the sinful clay creature floated farther away, zapped shut by lightning. With immensely vile energy trapped inside, it must remain untouched. Otherwise, the evil inside it would be released to wreak havoc on mankind. In the present, a group of Woodson University students cheers as they head to an island, spraying each other with water guns. The rowdy bunch arrives and energetically races to the beachfront while a man and woman drive to meet them on ATVs. Doug walks up to Kyle, wondering why his friend rode a separate boat from his supposed girlfriend, Tina. Kyle looks at the beautiful blonde before responding that they broke up. Doug speculates why, but the latter asks him to let it go. From the other boat, Carmen asks Tina if she's talked to Kyle yet. Tina responds that her former boyfriend has already made up his mind. The event judges, Woodson alumni Paul and Monica, welcome the fraternity and sorority students to the 12th annual Cinco de Mayo scavenger hunt. They instruct the students to set up camp, which is a 10-minute trek away. Julie asks if there's a bathroom nearby, and Monica replies that there's a porta potty at camp. Her schoolmates shoot Julie incredulous looks as she expresses her disbelief, but Monica gets everyone's attention again and gives them an hour to settle in. After setting up camp, everyone enjoys a round of drinks, whooping as each member takes a shot at their initiation ceremony. Paul announces that their goal for the scavenger hunt is to collect as many undergarments from the 2,500 pieces scattered across the island. Monica proclaims the prize of $20,000, of which half will be given to charity, while the other half will go to house improvements for the winning sorority and fraternity. They will be signaled to stop at the end of the day, and anyone who returns to camp after an hour will have deductions to their score. Each pair will receive 2 bags for their collectibles and have the chance to score some booze if they split open the piñatas around the island. Before the game begins, the judges ask a few trivia questions. 5 pairs of undergarments go to anyone who knows what Cinco de Mayo means. They're not asking for the direct translation, which is May 5, so Tina scores the points by stating that it's the Mexican Day of Independence. No one can guess the location of the battle for the second question, but after a long period of silence, Kyle answers the third question about who the 2 opposing generals of the battle were. He describes the political event, detailing the date, generals, and location of the climactic end of the Franco-Mexican War. Impressed by his intelligence, his friends cheer loudly. Next up, everyone is partnered up and handcuffed into teams. Jake is with Julie, while Larry is paired with Connie. Doug and Carmen team up, and so do Bob and Lisa. Lastly, there's Kyle and Tina, though they protest about the pairing. Despite this, Paul handcuffs them, rejecting their complaints. Tina scoffs in defiance as the rest assemble at the starting line. Paul signals the start of the game, and the rest of the students rush to the forest, leaving Kyle and Tina at camp because they refuse to participate. Kyle tries getting the handcuffs off, and the two squabble. Tina is irritated by the situation and Kyle's forceful tugging at their handcuffs. He then accidentally falls to the ground and pulls her down with him. While in an intimate position, Tina complains about their predicament, and Kyle scathingly mentions the study partner he assumes she wants to be with instead. Tina avoids the topic, exasperatedly calling him an idiot. She instead proposes they wait until the scavenger hunt is over, and Kyle mockingly agrees. Meanwhile, Bob leads Lisa to a location filled with undergarments, boasting about his intel. He reveals a key to their handcuffs, pressuring her to take theirs off. Then, he brings out a blunt for them to share. Lisa takes a toke, and soon the two are giggling as they grab the undies around them. As Lisa is gathering some undergarments, she sees a clay figure in the water and drags it out. She falls on her back, chuckling from the mind-altering whiff she took. The giggling student calls for her partner, accidentally calling him Bill. Showing Bob the piñata, Lisa wonders what's inside because it looks old. He convinces her to crack it open and finds a stick to hit it with. After their attempts with a wooden stick fail, they look for a rock instead. As they leave, the piñata's eyes glow red. Lisa presents Bob with a rock, and the two kiss, excited about breaking the piñata. Bob proceeds to hit the clay creature until he cracks it open, unleashing the evil spirits in the piñata. Suddenly, the two hear a strange howling noise which freaks them out. Nearby, the crack on the piñata surface is illuminated as Lisa and Bob are surrounded by a screeching sound. Confounded, Lisa starts worrying about what they did, asking Bob for reassurance. A horrifying growling noise fills them with anxiety, and they look around, following its sound. Suddenly, the piñata rushes toward Bob, savagely hitting him with a stick. The piñata continues to whack Bob, channeling the evil spirits of its past. It turns to Lisa, so she runs off screaming, leaving her deceased friend behind. Back at camp, Kyle offers Tina a truce even while they continue to bicker. He urges her to join the scavenger hunt since his fraternity has a 3-year winning streak. Kyle then threatens that he'll drag her around if she doesn't cooperate. She doesn't believe him, but he pulls her arm, forcing her to agree to his terms. He commands her to play nice, which annoys her. Still, they are now in the game. Somewhere in the forest, Larry is using a GPS and a beta chi map to navigate the area for their house's secret stash. Connie follows him around apathetically when Larry notices an odd noise. Connie calls out for attention, but Larry doesn't want anyone to hear them, so he leads her away, barely escaping the demon's path. The team crouches, waiting for possible competitors to leave, when Lisa unexpectedly jumps in to tell them about Bob's demise. She hysterically tells them about the piñata, but the two burst into laughter. They can't believe a piñata could do something so grave. Larry notices Lisa's bad smell, and Connie questions how she got the handcuffs off. They think Lisa's sabotaging their scavenger hunt so she can win, prompting her to frantically run off. Afterward, the piñata spots the team, who sees another piñata, laughing as they mockingly avenge Bob by breaking the alcohol-filled container. They toast to their prize as the demon glares at them. At the camp, Lisa explains what happened to Bob to the judges, thinking they should leave the island. At the beta chi's hidden spot, Larry and Connie dig a hole, revealing a secret stash of undies. Excited, they fill their bags. But when Larry looks around for the shovel, the piñata ambushes them from behind, smacking Connie with the shovel. While it strikes Connie, Larry tries to run, but his hand is still handcuffed to her, leaving him helpless as he screams. Meanwhile, Monica and Paul discuss Lisa's story, mounting their ATVs to investigate. In another part of the forest, Tina describes how she slapped her study partner who kissed her, assuring Kyle that she didn't cheat on him. She continues to retrieve undergarments as she sits on his shoulders, but he changes the topic, pushing her to move faster. The two are met by the judges, who unlock their cuffs, informing them about the situation. They instruct them to go back to camp and send a signal to end the game. Before the judges leave, Monica gives them a walkie-talkie to communicate. Shortly after, Monica and Paul search the island and step into a clearing, where they discover Bob's body hanging on a tree, scaring the two. This tells them this was done by something more than an animal. Elsewhere, Jake and Julie are having an intimate moment. Meanwhile, the piñata hangs on a rope behind them and lowers itself, targeting them. Abruptly, Julie suggests they continue counting their collection to ensure their win. They've counted 272 undergarments when they spot the clay piñata nearby. The pair head to the monster, and Jake swings to crack it open, but the demon stops him and dismembers him. Julie fearfully shrieks as the piñata swings at her next. Shortly after, Kyle signals all the teams to head back to camp, surprising Doug and Carmen. It isn't the end of the day yet, but they quickly gather their things and dash off. Meanwhile at camp, Lisa recalls the horrifying events of the day, gently rocking back and forth. Nearby, Kyle apologizes to Tina for jumping to conclusions about her study partner. He expresses that he misses her, and she reciprocates. The two share a kiss and embrace, reconciling over their misunderstanding. In the forest, Paul contacts Kyle through the walkie-talkie, notifying those at the camp about Bob. Paul directs Kyle to bring the others to the beach and leave the island once they have a full boat, while those left behind can ride the second one. The judges then ride their ATVs to resume searching for the students. Soon after, Kyle asks Lisa to narrate what happened to Bob. She doubts he'll believe her, but he presses her. Elsewhere, Doug and Carmen find themselves lost, struggling to return to the camp. At the beachfront, life vests are floating near the shore as Kyle, Tina, and Lisa discover their tattered boats. Kyle notices hoof-shaped footprints on the sand with growing curiosity about the attacker. In the woods, Paul and Monica are ambushed by the piñata, forcing them to speed up. Paul races ahead, but Monica hits a tree trunk that sends her flying off her vehicle. To save her, Paul gets off his ATV and rushes to where she landed so they can flee. Her leg is hurt, so he helps her, but the demon is too fast. Unfortunately, it catches up and strikes Paul's leg. Monica can't leave Paul, but as the piñata heads for her, he holds the demon's leg. It continues striking him instead, giving Monica a chance to escape. Heading downhill, she balances on a tree and falls, so she crawls away. Later that night, after setting up a bonfire, Tina, Kyle, and Lisa speculate about who or what the attacker is. Kyle asks Lisa if the piñata has hoofed feet, but she only remembers its red eyes. Tina is irked about the topic, but Kyle mentions a Mexican folktale that relates to Lisa's story. He summarizes what happened to Manganio, telling his friends about the village's suffering and salvation. Kyle describes the piñata, and Lisa nods to confirm this theory, but Tina is skeptical. Then, Lisa narrates how she and Bob cracked open the piñata, and although they couldn't decipher it then, they heard a sound that seemed to be the grief of the villagers. Meanwhile, the piñata trudges around with its red vision lighting its bush-filled path. At the same time, the campers hear a sudden noise. They move closer to it when Doug and Carmen spring out of the shadows. The partners laugh, but Tina, Kyle, and Lisa remain serious, prompting Doug to wonder where everyone else is. The next morning, those at camp discuss their next move. Lisa wants to leave the island, but Tina and Kyle try to convince her to find the others. Instead, Lisa insists they stay at camp where it's safe to wait for help. Doug agrees. However, Kyle argues they should all stay together and help rescue their friends. Later, the group searches the forest, but the demon spots them. Soon, the students smell something funky and find a savagely wounded deer. Afraid, Lisa attempts but fails to convince them to go back to camp, and they continue on. Moments later, Doug pauses to remove a rock in his shoe, telling everyone to go ahead without him. The group makes some progress but returns for Doug before resuming their search. While Doug follows from behind them, a rope springs around him and drags him up to a tree as the piñata watches. Soon, Carmen notices Doug's absence and retraces her steps. The others follow, but Doug's disappearance causes an argument between them. Unbeknownst to them, Doug is nearby and in danger. Eventually, Carmen and Lisa resolve to return to the camp while Tina and Kyle keep going. Soon, Tina and Kyle track hoof marks until they realize the malevolent creature is heading to camp, so they dash to warn the others. Meanwhile, Lisa and Carmen are on their way back, but Lisa needs to urinate. Carmen allows her to go, urging her to hurry up. Just as Lisa is done, she turns to her friend and clasps her mouth. Behind Carmen, the piñata swings toward her, clawing her face as Lisa screams. Hearing their friend screams, Tina and Kyle find Lisa. Kyle leaves to find the piñata while the two girls wait for him. However, Lisa frightfully takes off, forcing Tina to go after her. Meanwhile, Kyle looks for the beast but finds Monica instead. At camp, Lisa sees the tent rustling, wondering who's there. She gets closer, and the piñata suddenly drags her inside and attacks her. Just then, Tina arrives at camp, and the demon chases her. She trips but recovers, rushing to their meeting place. At the same time, Kyle and Monica reach the meeting spot and wait for Tina. Elsewhere, Tina is running for her life with the piñata tailing her. Unexpectedly, Kyle reaches for her and pulls her to hide. He asks where Lisa is, but Tina just shakes her head. That night, the piñata continues to survey its surroundings. Kyle decides to throw some rocks to lure the creature away so they can escape. As they're looking for the judge's ATVs, Monica tearfully tells the other two about Paul, blaming herself for his demise. This time, they plan to hunt the piñata instead of the other way around. Soon after, the group finds the ATV and Kyle siphons the gasoline into their canteens as they hear a roaring noise. The demon heads toward them, but narrowly misses them. The three escape, and Monica stops to catch her breath, asking what they'll use for bait. Out of nowhere, Paul's body is dropped in front of them, and Monica screams, alerting the monster. The remaining judge tears up, and Kyle comforts her so they can move on. Soon, the trio gets to work on their plan to defeat the demon. They set up a trap with a bonfire burning at the center of the camp. Nearing camp, the evil piñata detects Monica's voice while she's telling the others about herself. She feels it coming closer, acknowledging this as she keeps going. Quickly, she signals Kyle, who swings down from a tree while the demon smashes Monica's figure. The piñata hits a watermelon in Monica's clothing, revealing the group's walkie-talkie ruse as Kyle traps the monster in a sack with a rope holding it in place. Then, Tina torches the piñata, and they watch it burn. However, it escapes and hits Monica in the face before turning to Tina. Meanwhile, Kyle swings from the other side, striking the piñata and ordering Tina to get the gas. The demon jabs at him, sending him flying while Tina fills a bottle with gasoline. Defending himself with a frying pan, Kyle is almost defeated by the time Tina attaches a flaming glass bottle to the piñata. It flails around, recalling visions of Manganyo spirits during its final moments. When the piñata explodes, the group ducks behind a pile of wood, covering themselves as the evil spirits spread out. They look up, and their camp is in flames. Soon after, the campus police arrive on the island. Tina, Kyle, and Monica are being interviewed, and a detective asks just what happened there. The trio can only look at each other as they know their story would be hard to believe.